A lot of people say they want to be school leaders, but not everyone should be. Before you start chasing school leadership roles, this summer, I want you to ask yourself 4 brutally honest questions. And if you can't say yes to all 4, then you might not be ready yet. Let's get into it. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, educator, best-selling author, school leadership coach, and I help aspiring school leaders confidently land their first leadership role and lead with impact from day one. Today's topic is, should you really be a school leader? Ask yourself these 4 questions. Now, when it comes to stepping into school leadership, we know that school leadership is very different from being a classroom teacher. Your role, your responsibility, your area for error, right? Your room for error, your room for margin is a lot more slim, right? Quite frankly, all eyes are on you when it comes to decision making. And so you have to be really intentional about taking that leap into school leadership if that's something that you want to do. So I want to jump right into our topic today. Should you really be a school leader? And I want you to ask yourself these 4 questions. Number 1, am I ready to lead adults, not just students? Now, this is a critical question because when I talk with some of the aspiring leaders that I know, that I work with on a daily basis, right? A lot of times they say that they might not be ready to lead adults yet because it is an extremely different dynamic, right? You might be an amazing teacher, but leadership means managing, guiding, and sometimes confronting other adults. And that's a whole different ballgame. You have to understand that when it comes to dealing with confrontation, I don't think anyone truly likes dealing with confrontation. Right? That's not something that we seek on a daily basis, but I will say it is a part of the role. And you having those critical conversations with adults for whatever reason, maybe the actions, the behaviors are not necessarily aligned with the mission, vision, and core values of your principal. If you're an assistant principal, right? If you maybe those actions don't align with district policy or whatever the case is. You have to be the person that is able to get out of their feelings, because a lot of times it's feelings, but we know that feelings aren't fact. You have to understand that this is about leadership. And leadership means that you have to overcome your fear of confrontation in order to have a productive and respectful conversation that allows you to keep the dignity of the other person while you're having that conversation, but knowing that we need to find a solution, knowing that we need to make sure that everything that we do is best for kids. And so that means that you have to confront certain situations, because what you fail to confront is something that you're actually allowing. And if you're allowing certain behaviors, if you're allowing certain things that do not align with the climate and culture of your school building, then guess what? You are also a part of the problem. And so you have to ask yourself, are you ready for adult emotions, resistance, and also accountability? Because sometimes as adults, I'm including myself in this conversation, sometimes we can be stuck in our ways. We have been doing things for a certain amount of time, and sometimes the default can be, well, we've been doing this for so long. Why do we need to change it now? Just because we've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean that there isn't an area of improvement. And so as an aspiring school leader, you're going to have to ask yourself, am I ready to lead adults, not just students? Our second question regarding should you really be a school leader is, can I still love teaching even when I'm not the one doing it? Another critical conversation you have to reflect on. You know, I remember having a conversation with an aspiring leader, maybe not an aspiring leader, right? But this is someone who is a teacher who has their certification in order to be an administrator. But when I had this conversation with her, she was expressing to me how she doesn't know if she wants to leave the classroom yet. She loves teaching so much to the point like this is something that she saw herself doing when she was a child. And although she has her certification, although she has a master's degree in education administration, she just right now at least, she just can't get rid of the idea of not being in the classroom on a daily basis. And we get that. We understand that, right? Because some people do have that passion and desire and love for the routine of being in a classroom. It makes sense. But that's something that you need to reflect on, because you'll no longer be the one leading lessons or building daily student relationships in that particular environment. Are you okay with shifting your impact from direct instruction to indirect influence, right? Because you're not necessarily going to be teaching, right? You do have some administrators who teach on a quarterly basis or whatever the need is in their particular building. But for the most part, you're not going to be teaching at all, but you will be able to influence teaching and learning in an indirect way. And so you have to ask yourself, again, number 2, our second critical question, can I still love teaching even when I'm not the one doing it? I know you're enjoying this episode, but I wanted to let you know about my latest book, Beyond the Classroom, helping aspiring school leaders navigate interpersonal and organizational complexities for greater instructional impact. Now, this book is going to help you navigate the learning curve as you transition from being a classroom teacher to a school leader, manage your busy schedule and reclaim your time to effectively be an instructional leader, take a holistic approach towards school leadership, and increase your instructional impact by fostering a school culture of feedback and coaching. So if you are an aspiring school leader looking to be an effective practitioner, head over to my website and grab your copy today. Our third question, the third question that you have to ask yourself and reflect on this summer regarding should you really be a school leader, is do I have the emotional bandwidth for tough conversations and tough calls? Here's the thing. You are going to be responsible for making decisions. And guess what? Those decisions are going to make somebody disgruntled regardless of whatever it is whatever decision you make. It doesn't matter what decision you make. Somebody's not going to be happy. That's the way it works. That's the way it goes. But you have to ask yourself, are you ready for that? You'll need to deliver hard feedback sometimes, make unpopular decisions, and stay centered when things get messy. Are you willing to grow in that discomfort? Are you willing to put your people-pleasing tendencies to the side? Because some of us have them, right? And I must admit, when I first became an administrator, that was something that I needed to overcome. It's the idea that I want to make everyone happy. Because if you are making everyone happy, that means that you're not leading. That means that you are constantly capitulating to the ideas and the requests of everyone else, but you're not focused on the needs of what your students actually need, right? That's literally what it is. There's no way that you can please everyone and still be a leader. It just doesn't work that way. Because you have to make critical conversations that people are just not going to like. You're going to have to make tough calls. You're going to have tough conversations. So when it comes to growing in that discomfort, it might not be an initial thing in terms of you being comfortable with the emotional bandwidth that you're going to be able to have those tough conversations, right? You might not step into leadership with that, but are you willing to grow in that discomfort? That's the critical question. Because we all have areas where we need to grow. And that's not to say that when you step into leadership, you're going to be polished, because nobody has done that. Nobody's stepped into leadership and just on day one, like you have it all together. We are constantly learning. We are constantly preparing for what we're preparing for. Leadership is an iterative process that you will always be preparing for. Yes, you can be more prepared through coaching and mentorship, which we'll talk about a little later. But at the end of the day, are you able to handle the emotional bandwidth? I will say that the first year that I was a school leader, that was the most stressed that I've ever been, because I was dealing with conflict on a daily basis. I'm making decisions all the time, right? And sometimes you can have decision-making fatigue. It does happen. But you have to be willing to grow in that emotional discomfort and improve your emotional bandwidth. So number 3, our third critical question, do I have the emotional bandwidth for tough conversations and tough calls? And then lastly, our fourth question, as it relates to should you really be a school leader? Our fourth question is my why bigger than my title? If you're in it for a title, for recognition, or for a pay bump, this job will chew you up and spit you out. It truly will. But if your why is rooted in service, if it's rooted in equity or long-term impact, you'll have the stamina to lead well. I want you to ask yourself, can you name your why? You know, at the end of the day, on those days of frustration where it feels like you can do nothing right, when it feels like other people cannot do anything right, right? Because we do have those frustrating days as well. When you feel like not getting out of bed because of the thing that you're about to walk into, when it feels like you are constantly putting out fires and you're not actually able to get into classrooms as much as you would like, those are the days where you have to tap into your why. And I know sometimes we're tired of hearing that, but it's true. You have to be rooted in something bigger than a title. You have to be rooted in something bigger than your salary increasing by you stepping into school leadership. You have to be rooted in something greater than you having a title and having your name on an office door. You have to be rooted in your why. Why do you truly want to get into school leadership? And for me, school leadership wasn't something that I sought initially. School leadership was something that a coach, a mentor saw in me and then was able to help bring that out by teaching me, by motivating me, by cultivating me into the leader that I am today. And so sometimes it takes someone else to pull that out of you. And then as I continued to walk in school leadership, I really noticed how much of an influence I was able to have on students, how much of an influence and how professional relationships were able to really ignite the fire in students because we were partners in this work towards increasing student achievement. And so for you over the summer, I want you to ask yourself, what is my why that is going to sustain me on those days where I do not feel like rolling out of bed and being a leader in this particular building? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. So again, today our topic was, should you really be a school leader? Ask yourself these 4 questions. And the 4 questions were, am I ready to lead adults, not just students? Can I still love teaching even when I'm not the one doing it? Do I have the emotional bandwidth for tough conversations and tough calls? And lastly, is my why bigger than my title? If you said yes to these 4 questions, even with a little hesitation, then it might be time for you to take that next step. And I want to invite you to join my Elevate Your Impact coaching program designed to help you confidently land your first leadership role and lead with impact from day 1. Whether it's the 8-week leadership launch, the 4-week interview launch, or the 90-minute interview accelerator, I meet you exactly where you are in your leadership journey and help you step into the room like you belong. If you're curious or want to talk further, my email address is in the show notes. Reach out and let's see if this is the right next step for you. As always, I hope you had a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.